What's up, guys? Coming back, giving you a couple more videos. We finished up the Quiz 2 material in the last video and word problems. Moving on to Quiz 3 material, this is where we actually start solving quadratics with various different methods. First method, as you see, factoring. So that was the big topic that I wanted to cover before I left. I felt decent about it. We did a decent job with it. But we're going to go further into it today. So let's start with the intro here. Is that on? Yeah. So, solve by factoring. So, you really know how to do this already. We're going to solve this equation. We have x squared minus 12x plus 36. Again, we read backwards. So, what factors of 36 add to be 12 is the key, okay? Factors of 36 add to be 12. Well, got it yet? 6 and 6, right? So, 6 times 6 is 36. 6 plus 6 is 12. So, again, leading one, so you go ahead and throw your x's up front. They're both the same sign, because that one tells you the same. This one tells you what they are, so they're both negative. So, negative and negative. They're both 6. So, 6 and 6 equals 0. And so now remember, zero product property states that if two things are being multiplied to make a 0, then one of them has to be a 0. So we got x minus 6 equals 0. We also have, again, x minus 6 equals 0. So obviously x equals 6 in both of these. So do you have to type in two sixes? No, just one 6 is fine, okay? It just so happens there's only one 0 on this. So if you were to actually graph this, if you actually graphed it and see what it looked like, you would get this. Y, X, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it crosses here and only there. I know it opens up because A is positive. So we'll just go up like that. Except it'd be way steeper. That's a little bit, oh, good night. This is terrible. Terrible. Hold on. Hold on. Get this stuff out of my way. I'm working on my master's junk and I got it all over. Let's try this again. My goodness. Try it again. Okay. One more time. If it doesn't work this time. Oh, that's so much better. Look at that. So it looks something like that. Okay. So that's actually what the graph of this equation would look like. And you could test it again. You could plot points by plugging in x values. So you already know if x is equal to 6, then y is 0 because, let's plug it in there. I would try 5 and 7 next, and I'd go 4 and 8 next, and I'd do it like that, and you're going to see it goes up like that. So there's our answer. So let's get out of this. Real quickly, we'll do one more. Just because, oh, this one's easy. What factors of 4 subtract to be 3? Well, obviously it's 4 and 1 because it's the only factors of 4 that subtract to be 3, right? So you have x squared plus 3x minus 4. Whoop, minus 4 equals 0. Okay? So factors of 4 that subtract to be 3, that's 4 and 1. So x, 4, 1. They're both different signs. The bigger sign gets the positive. So set each one equal to 0. Whoop. X minus 1 equals 0. So x equals negative 4. X equals 1. So notice it says smaller x. That's negative 4. Negative 4 is technically smaller than 1 because it's further. Which way would it be for you guys? That's that way, right. So it'd be further left on the number line. I forget. Cameras invert as well. So, is it? Whoop, whoop. Here we go. Anything else? No, the rest of these are pretty easy. Let's move on. Whoop. Well, I'll tell you, I hate when it changes like that. Quit. Okay. All right. How much we got? 4 minutes. Okay. All right, let's do this one together. This is a good one to go through. So, if you remember, the first thing I always told you to do when factoring, check for a GCF. Notice you can pull a 2 out. If you pull a 2 out, what are you left with? X squared minus 6x plus 9. This problem just got 500 times easier. just because of that alone. You could multiply 2 times 6 and get 30, I mean 2 times 18 and get 36. Why in the world would you do that when you can do this? Read backwards. What factors of 9 add to be 6? 3 and 3. So this becomes x minus 3 over, or times x minus 3 equals 0. They're both same sign. They're both negative. 3 and 3. There we go. So now when you solve this one by factoring, you have to set everything equal to 0. So if you remember 2 equals 0, that's not true. X minus 3 equals 0. X minus 3 equals 0. I don't know why I put parentheses there, but I did. So now x equals 3. X equals 3. So again, this equation only has one 0, namely x being 3. Let's do another one together. Let's do this one. Oh, I hope you see what I see. We're going to make this problem even easier. What should we do? Factor out a greatest common factor. We have 4x squared plus 40x plus 84. If you factor out, you can factor a 4 out of each one of those. You can pull a 4 out. So if you pull that 4 out, you're left with an x squared, which automatically makes this problem a lot easier because remember, when the leading a is 1, which we're making it 1 by factoring, when the leading a is 1, then you can just read backwards on factoring, so it's a whole lot easier. That's why factoring is the preferred method here. So that's plus 10x plus, what is that, 21? Yeah, equals 0. So what factors of 21 add to be 10? Well, the only other two factors of 21 other than 1 and 21 is 7 and 3. So x is going to front, the 4 stays in the front. They're both the same sign. That tells you same. That sign tells you what they are. They're both positive. So both positive equals 0. And so now since we're solving for x, set each one equal to 0. So 4 equals 0. That's not true. X plus 3 equals 0. X plus 7 equals 0. So x must equal negative 3 or x must equal negative 7. Either one of those gives us a good solution here. So let's type that in. Smaller one first. Negative 7 technically is smaller. Remember that because it's further left on the number line. Yeah, so you should be able to do that one. Interesting. I know this is a perfect square trinomial. What would that be? Taking the 4 out. 4 goes into that. 36. So it's, I'm going to guess 6. Yep. Do we get into anyone's? No. Okay, all right. So you should be able to do that based on those two problems. Solving equations using structures. Let's look at this one. It says find one value of x that is a solution to the equation. So we had a little bit of work here. So let's pull out our pen here. Come on. All right. So we need to find one solution of x on this. So there's a bunch of different ways you could work this problem. I'm going to work this way. I'm going to work this one the way I think most of you should probably work it. And that's blow this thing up and get ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. Okay? So we need to blow this thing up here. So we have 3x minus 1 times 3x minus 1 plus 12x minus 4 equals 0. So again, distributive property here, you get 9x squared from there over there. You get negative 3x. Here you get another negative 3x, and then here you get plus 1 plus 12x minus 4 equals 0. Combine like terms. So 9x squared stays in front. You got negative 6x, and a 12x makes a positive 6x, because again, negative 3 minus 3 plus 12, well, it's negative 6 plus 12 is a positive 6. And then 1 minus 4 is a negative 3 equals 0. Now go back and take out your greatest common factor. So again, this one's a nice one. We can take a 3 out. That leaves 3x squared plus 2x minus 1 equals 0. Now, if you remember, there were a bunch of different methods I showed you guys on how to solve leading A's being not 1. So you have slide method, you have grouping method where you multiply A times C. The slide method is the one where you divide by the A at the end. I'm going to use trial and error here because, look, 3 is a prime number, 1's a prime number. So I already know that 3 and 1's have to be at the end. So I'm just going to do this right here. So let's bring it over here, right here. So we got 3 times I know 3x has to be on one end, the x has to be on the other, and a 1 and a 1 have to be here. I need this 2x to become positive, so right here, I need that to be positive. I need this to be the negative because it's smaller, so positive, negative. And then just check it to make sure you're good. You got 3x squared. You have, what is that, 3x and a negative x, which is 2x. And then negative 1 times 1 is a positive, or negative 1 times a positive 1 is a negative 1. So we're good. All that equals 0. And then set each one equal to 0. So 3 equals 0. Nope. 3x minus 1 equals 0. So 3x equals 1. So x equals 1/3 because we add the 1 and divide by the 3. So 1/3 is a possible answer. There's another answer here. We have x equals negative 1 because if x plus 1 equals 0, subtract 1 from both sides. So either one of those two answers would actually work on this. So we'll type in negative 1 just to do that. And then I want to show you guys another way we could have worked the problem out, okay? That's the cool thing about this is there's so many different ways to work these problems out. Let's pull it out. All right, so let me show you another way. Now, I don't know if this is the way I would have done it. I probably worked this problem out the same way I just showed you. No, you know what? Let's not even worry about it. Let's just move on. Let's just go do a different problem. Here we go. This one looks slicky. So the same process. I'm actually just going to do the same process here. I think it's actually going to be easier for you guys if you just do this. So, now there's other ways you could do this. And I think the other ways that you'll learn will help when we get there. First, multiply that out. So 3x minus 2 times 3x minus 2. That's 9x squared minus 6x plus 4. Minus 4 equals 9x minus 6. So the 4's cancel each other out. You got negative 12x here, and you subtract 9x over. So that's negative 21x. You're going to add the 6 over. Make that equal to 0. And so you have 9x squared minus 21x plus 6 equals 0. Factor the greatest common factor out first. So pull a 3 out. So 3, this becomes 3x squared minus 7x plus 2 equals 0. This time, if you want to use a different method, we may do grouping method here. I would still use trial and error because I see exactly where it's going to go. It's not really trial and error. It's you know what's going to happen. 3 times 2 is 6, right? So, but 3 times 2 is 6. What factors of 6 subtract to be, or add, what factors of 6 add to be 7? Well, 6 and 1. So, this becomes 3 times 3x squared minus 6x minus x plus 2 equals 0. Again, if you don't remember what I'm talking about here, you really need to go back in your notes and look at all those problems we did before I left it. We spent 2 weeks on this stuff. Factoring. If you don't remember factoring, go back in Khan Academy. It's going to make this stuff easier. So now we're going to factor this by grouping. Big bracket. Pull out the greatest common factor for the first two, which is 3x. You're left with x minus, was it 2? And then notice, I need to pull the negative out because I need x to be positive. So negative 1 comes out, leaving x minus 2. So what are you left with? You're left with, I'm going to come up here now, 3 times x minus 2. It's a minus sign there. And what's left? 3x minus 1. 3x minus 1 equals 0. Set each one equal to 0. 3 equals 0. Nope. X minus 2 equals 0, so x equals 2. That's one solution. Or 3x minus 1 equals 0. So 3x equals 1, so x equals 1/3. That's a solution as well. So 2 or 1/3, we'll type in 1/3 this time just to have a little fun. So doesn't matter which one of the ways you use. I would use that, or excuse me, I would use the method I just shown you. We're about to look at another method next. That's called completing the square. And so that'll give you another tool in your arsenal. Okay, thanks.